Chainlink has been chosen as a data provider for bets on FIFA games. So the World Cup should, in theory, also benefit the Link price. It does not though. Is this potentially an opportunity? What we see here, that's the Chainlink price. It tends to trade in a range. The dotted line, that's the average price. And if we were just to go back to that equilibrium price, Link could appreciate by 64%. So it could go above the $12 mark. Here are the news related to the World Cup. And we've also got a build out of stablecoin transfers, this time in Europe and in South Korea. So what's going on here? Is Chainlink just getting dragged down by the rest of the altcoin market? Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active trading of altcoins. My track record is on the website linked down below. In the last 2 years, I started to publish my trades in real time. With the open trades, we are currently at an all-time high. And we have achieved, while everything else crashed, 47% per annum. And that's over the course of 182 trades. I show this at the beginning of most videos because I think most people here on YouTube are not willing to be that transparent, to show their entire trading history with all the wins, but also all the losses. In the end, the long term, I believe, is what counts. The current open positions are, of course, available to the premium members. It seems like Chainlink is doing everything right. We've got FIFA, we've got stablecoins, we've even got equities of Japan and Korea that are now being brought on chain using Chainlink technology. Everything in crypto is currently about tokenizing assets. It's about integrating Wall Street. And there's apparent disconnect between the positive news and the price development. I'm not the first one that notices this. Have a look at this. Andrew Tate, among all the people, Andrew Tate already tweeted that 1.5 years ago. The coolest thing about Link is no matter how bullish the news they post, the price never goes up. So yeah, instead of just following memes on Twitter or following the marketing hype by the project themselves, here is an improvement towards AI that Chainlink provides. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I post the positives and the negatives, and I also do that regularly on X, formerly known as Twitter. So if you want to check that out, feel free to follow this channel over here on X. The account is @BitcoinStrat. So make sure that you follow the right account and not a fake account. This is the only official account @BitcoinStrat. Now, Chainlink is mainly known as an oracle, as in a data provider for the blockchain. This is useful especially for betting markets or for prediction markets. If you want to bet on an external event, there needs to be a validation that that event occurred. The reason why Chainlink owns almost the entire market is because the truthfulness of their data is incredibly important. It all started out with borrowing and lending platforms, and Chainlink provided the value of those deposited assets that can be borrowed against. Now, if there's just a little bit of a glitch in the price, suddenly the entire decentralized finance protocol might lose their assets, right? If Chainlink thinks that a particular token is worth more than it is, and then people can borrow against that, potentially more value than is actually deposited, then the value can get drained from the decentralized finance app. So really, data integrity is super important. And that's why it's so hard to compete against the incumbent. The incumbent is proven, and any switch to another provider is just a lot of additional risk for very little marginal gain. And so that's why Chainlink has 70% market share, and that's not going away anytime soon. Using Chainlink technology also burns Link tokens. So if you use the price feeds of Chainlink, you have to pay Link tokens. Now, crypto is all about opportunity costs. We have a lot of correlation, as in Bitcoin goes up, the altcoins go up, Bitcoin goes down, the altcoins go down. So really, we want to know how much does a particular altcoin perform relative to the rest of the altcoin market. So instead of looking at Chainlink in US dollars, it's much more useful to look at Chainlink relative to the altcoin market cap. And that's then this chart here, Link divided by others. And we tend to trade in a range for the last 5 years. And we are at the lower end of that trading range. That's very much encouraging. That would imply potential outperformance of Link versus the rest of the altcoin market by close to 100% from here. Now that's the performance relative to the altcoins. Unfortunately, most altcoins tend to underperform Bitcoin long term. And Chainlink is no exception. This is the Link price versus BTC. And here While we might make the argument that Link has stabilized versus Bitcoin and could potentially break out, it doesn't look like this is the most likely scenario. Bitcoin is still king. Bitcoin still tends to do better, at least over the very long term. And one of the reasons is token inflation. New tokens hitting the market all the time and the demand cannot catch up. Even a project that delivers positive news and it doesn't stop developing and it doesn't stop creating new partnerships, if the token inflation is higher than the demand for the Link token, then of course the price has to rather underperform. So according to this prediction, the Chainlink supply will grow by roughly 10% in the next 12 months. And Bitcoin supply only grows by 0.8% year over year. That's then the reason why the price chart long term looks very different to the market cap chart. It takes more and more capital for the Link price to go up. Link tends to top out between 15 and 20 billion. It tends to bottom somewhere around 3 billion. Currently, we are at 5.5 billion. Again, the price tends to go down long term because of the token inflation. Market cap charts are much more reliable to determine potential bottoms and tops. Now again, relative to the altcoin market, Link looks okay. Just relative to Bitcoin, it doesn't. And token inflation is no joke for long-term holders. It's a difference between this and this. Now in a way, Chainlink trades a bit different to most other altcoins. Many altcoins trade based on attention. If many people have a lot of attention on the asset, it tends to go up. Then when the story changes, the attention moves to another asset, the capital also tends to follow. Now Chainlink tends to rather trade based on the news, based on the partnerships, based on new developments. And so the correlation between social engagement, that's the bar chart, versus the price, that's the green line, it's not that high. Now, a lot of people continue to speculate on Chainlink using leverage. In the spot market, we only had 16 million of trading volume in the last 24 hours. On the perpetual futures market, we had 280 million worth of trading volume. So much more levered bets than actual spot trading. Most people that are betting on the Link price actually are bullish, as in the funding rate is positive. The longs have to pay the shorts in order to get more exposure. That's also rather uncommon. For most altcoins, this tends to trend more around the zero line. It tends to be not as bullish. And so, of course, when the price is weak, then it's mainly the longs that get liquidated, the people that bet on rising prices. But right now, the market at least is not heated. As in, the trading volume on the perpetual futures for the Link price is not that high. And there is correlation, again, between trading volume and the price itself. There's even a stronger correlation between the open interest, so the amount of bets or the inherent leverage on Link, versus the price. Whenever there's a lot of bets, the price is high. Whenever the leverage exits and the open interest goes down, the price tends to decline as well. And currently, open interest is not dirt cheap. It's not super low, but at least it's not elevated either. I'm currently not buying into Chainlink. I've got other positions open. 7 of the 8 positions are currently in profit. And of course, all the positions that have already been closed, that's also available on the public page. Every trade gets announced in real time via Telegram and via email. And if you don't want to manually copy trade, you can also join the yearly copy trading. We are currently 23% in profit annualized, while of course year to date crypto fell quite massively. Last year we got 44%. So I'm trying to achieve the same this year again. That's available only to the annual subscribers though. So for the manual copy trading, you can just do that with the monthly membership. If you don't want to touch trading yourself, then annual is for you. But again, if you do have some time, I recommend to just start with monthly first. Make your first gains, see how the strategy works, and then if you want to, you can still reinvest that later. If you don't like premium, you can also email me over here, thebitcoinstrategy@gmail.com. There is a 7-day money back guarantee. So there's really no risk for you to try it out. Just email me if you feel you don't get adequate value. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you on premium. Link to that pops up here on the screen as well. So see you next time. Cheers.